Celtics, would you agree they have a bit of history? The only teammates in franchise history to each go for 40 in a game. If I gave you 1,000 guesses, you'd never get to Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. Last night it happened. So I get to say, Larry Bird ain't walking through that door, and it's okay. And mean it. Let's go.
Peters, Kevin McHale.
Walker Pierce never did it. Bird and McHale never did it.
Bill Russell.
And Russell and Havlicek never did it. No. Clinchage in the NBA last night. We saw with the Cleveland Cavaliers, first to lock down a playoff spot. Comeback win over Miami. Their 12th straight in a row consecutively, and their dream season continues. Sinkage! Yes, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, first Celtics teammates to each go for 40-plus. They combined for 19 threes. And also, last night, more sinkage. James Harden. He had a 50-point game with 15-plus points from 2, 15-plus points from 3, 15-plus points from the free throw line. Frank Isola, what was the most impressive number in game last night to you?
Yeah. And you mentioned James Harden. That's getting 50 for the 24th time, and he did it in front of the 44th president of the United States, Barack Obama. That's how you put on a show with an audience like that. But the one that's more surprising is what happened in Boston. It makes Bob Cousy and Bill Russell and JoJo White, Dave Cowens, Tatum and Brown look like slackers compared to these two guys. They combined for 19 threes. Peyton Pritchard, a guy coming off the bench, had 10 3-pointers. He's probably going to be the sixth man of the year. That one, out of all the history that the Celtics
that history.
That one sticks out more.
Scalabrini and who? Eddie House. I mean, just throw them all out there.
Ryan Gold.
And they never did. Unbelievable.
Dana Barros.
Harry Lyles, around the horn to you.
Yeah, Tony, I'm with Frank here. It's got to be the Celtics. We're talking about one of the most historic franchises in all of North American sports, and they have played 65% of their games in franchise history, over 6,000 games, 65% with at least 2 Hall of Famers on the court. The fact that they have done that up to this point and not done this yet is incredible. Like, this stat is going to go triple platinum in bars and restaurants at trivia night all across America for the rest of time. It is absolutely unbelievable. But the Peyton Pritchard of it all with this, he's only the second player in NBA history to have 40 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and an effective field goal percentage of 95%. The only other player in NBA history to do that is Wilt in 1967. It's just, to me, everything about it, unreal.
I haven't been to a bar, really, honestly, in like 10 years. That's the type of trivia we're asking at bars. The teammates who have scored 40 plus, I got to get back into the bar. Woody Page, around the horn to you. Most impressive from the NBA last night.
Well, I'm not going to be as impressive as Frank was reading off of the roster of the Boston Celtics for the last 50 years, but I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Thank you, Woody.
And you say, well, why would that be? No other team in the history of the NBA has gone on those kind of 3 streaks in the same season other than the Dallas Mavericks. And not only that, but here's the other side of it, that the Cavaliers also came back and won other games right after that. Earlier this year, it was 15 out of 17, and then another time it was 16 out of 18. And so, I mean, they continue to win, and they will continue to win again. They might win 12 or 13 more in a row before the season's over. I think that accomplishment, being the earliest to reach the playoffs, they're already secured a 6th seed. You know they will be number 1 overall, and a team that really, I think, is underappreciated, even though they have the best record in the league.
And Justin Tinsley, most impressive from the NBA last night.
Look, with all due respect to what Peyton Pritchard and Derek White did last night, I'm going to stray off the bearded path. I'm going with James Harden. You mentioned it earlier in the show, Tony. 15-plus points from 2, 3, and the free throw line, 5 assists, a steal, and a block. That stat line has only happened 5 times in NBA history, Tony. The only person to ever do it is James Harden, and that's including last night. And when you look at the stakes, when you look at how much these games actually matter to teams, look, Boston and Cleveland, they're already set in their ways. They're already set in the standings. The Clippers are fighting for their playoff lives at this point, at least play in or play out of the play-in lives. They're fighting with Minnesota and Golden State for the 6th seed. You know, they lost 6 of their last 7. They blew a 20-point lead to Phoenix earlier this week, and they were on the second half of a back-to-back with no Kawhi and no Norman Powell. I got to give respect to the Beard and what he did last
Solo
night.
back in after the horn.
And that's exactly it. It's like the NBA kryptonite. God forbid you play back-to-back games. And James Harden to go out, and they needed that. He's going up against Cade Cunningham, a much younger player. So when you start talking about, you could say whatever you want about James Harden. He dribbles the blood out of the basketball, the step-back threes, he takes bad shots. The one thing you better say about him, the guy loves to play. That you better respect about James Harden.
You can say anything you want about him, so let me say some dismissive things about him. But then I'm going to bring it back. I love the way you do that, Frank. Woody gave us the stat on the Cavaliers. 3 straight win streaks, or I should say 3 win streaks of 12 straight wins in a season. It's only been done once before. You said the team, Woody. What was the team?
Mavericks.
Did they win the title that year?
No, they didn't.
Oh, that was the one piece of information you didn't give us before. We'll move on. We've been horned. SEC madness. Let's talk college. Ole Miss storming Tennessee last night. A big win for the Rebels. Florida, Alabama. This was a great game. Gators, another road win against the top 10 team. Number 1, Auburn, went down to Texas A&M earlier this week. The SEC is a battleship this season. Joe Lunardi has them getting 12 teams into the bracket. Their conference tournament is going to be off the rails. Harry, which SEC team is best right now?
Right now, Tony, it is the Florida Gators. Auburn has the body of work, but Florida also has the head-to-head win over Auburn, which they did on the road. They also just got done beating the Texas A&M team that beat Auburn. They beat them by 19 points this past Saturday, and obviously their most recent win on the road against an Alabama team that is one of the fastest in the country. Look, this Florida team is complete. 4th in offensive efficiency, 10th in defensive efficiency, and they also play with tempo. To me, they're playing great basketball at the right time. Give me Florida.
That's the argument for Florida. Woody Page, around the horn to you.
Thank you, Harry, for bringing up offensive and defensive efficiencies, because Auburn has better on both sides. They got 5 guys that are averaging in double figures. They have the best net, and I'm going back to what decides the seeding in the tournaments, and that's become relatively new over the last 3 years, but the net is the best in the country. And only Duke is in the same class with them. So even though the Gators are, and Auburn was upset, the Gators have been strong this year. Tennessee, Alabama, SEC will provide maybe 11, 12 teams to get into the NCAA tournament, but Auburn has been the best throughout the season. Their non-conference rating is the highest in land. And so I think you got to go with
That's the argument for the Tigers. Frank, I stole around the horn to you.
Man, it absolutely breaks my heart that I have to agree with Woody Page on this one, but he happens to be right about Auburn. You know, they have a Player of the Year candidate in Broom. They're as deep as any team in the country. And all right, they lost to Texas A&M. They've lost twice since December 5th. They're allowed to lose a game every once in a while. Think about the pressure that they're under. They're going to get a great seed. They're going to end up being the best team out of the SEC.
Harry Lyles, I saw that eyebrow go up. One of their 2 losses since that time was to the Florida Gators. As Harry
Florida
said.
Gators.
Justin Tinsley, best team in the SEC right now?
I'm going to have to agree with Harry on this. Obviously, Auburn is a phenomenal pick, and I'm not arguing that. But if you look over the last month, the hottest team in the country has been the Florida Gators. They were on like a 6-game winning streak. And yes, that included a win against Auburn. I understand they lost to UGA, but they followed that up with 2 top 12 wins against Texas A&M and Alabama. So, like, when you look at this, I understand they only have 1 loss separating them in the loss column from Auburn. So when I look at this Florida team, they're playing great on both sides of the ball. They're physical as hell. They can get to it. They have 3 top 10 wins during the season this year. This is their most since 2010 and 2011, and 2 of those 3 wins are against the number 1 team in the country. So I expect
That's the type of resume you like going into the
exactly. I expect them to have a number 1 seed.
They may have another chance, you know. Conference tournament is just going to be.
It's going to be great.
Only one team's going to win. Somebody's going to be going in.
But
to the
everyone's going to get in, though.
Yeah. I mean, one more thing here from college. This is the 4 quarters for college basketball argument made by Jay Billings this week. 4 quarters for college basketball would align the college game with every other level of basketball. NBA, international, Olympics, high school. But the NCAA is still in two halves, so I go around the horn to you, Justin Tinsley, on 4 quarters for college basketball. Would it make sense?
I 1,000% agree with this. And just from a storytelling product aspect, like every other level of basketball plays 4 quarters, whether it's high school, whether it's, women's college basketball, whether it's the NBA, whether it's the WNBA, they play 4 quarters. I would love to see 4 quarters in the men's game because it just provides for a better product, more theater, and we all understand the importance of we're going into the 4th quarter, not we're going into the last 10 minutes of the second half.
Okay, I'm not sure if you convinced me on why it would be better for the game just yet. Frank, I stole around the horn to you.
I think it's worked really well for the women's game. I think when you're only having 5 fouls per quarter, then you're in the penalty. That would mean fewer free throws. The game would move. It'd have a lot better flow. I would just adopt, I agree with Jay Billis, I would also adopt the international rules. The 3-point line, the wider lane. Why not? At least you make it closer. It's closer to the NBA if you play the international rules. 40-minute games, that's what I like.
Mm-hmm. Woody Page, around the horn to you.
I think everybody's in agreement that it should be 4 quarters, and it makes no sense that they go through 2 halves. And I'm going to give you something that nobody else is ever going to talk about. But I look at the box scores in the paper every day, and I can decide what happens.
The what?
In a
Excuse me?
game
The
or
paper?
football game.
Oh, yes, Woody Page. Explain to Harry what the paper is, just real quick.
When it's by the quarters, you can actually tell the flow of the game. By halves, you don't know what happened for the 20 minutes. And I just have, over the years, figured out how to work through a game by just looking at a quarters and figuring out.
All right, I'm still not sure I'm following how this is better for the game. Harry, I'll turn to you.
Yeah, first off, I have an Evansville Courier and Press subscriber, Tony. Thank you very much.
There you go, Harry. That's what I love about you, my friend.
In the press release that the NCAA had when they made this move for the women's game, they talked about enhancing the pace and presentation of the game. But also, we're resetting fouls at the ends of the 1st and 3rd quarter. That is important. And Jay Bills also mentioned something that I thought was also very important, which is having timeouts that advance the ball past half court under a minute left. That has made for some fantastic finishes.
Okay.
In the women's game. It would be also great in the men's game. And while we're changing rules, Tony, can we please get rid of the possession arrow? It does not make any sense. It's awful.
You want jump balls again? Do you trust the referee to get the jump ball up with frequency?
Yes, better, yes.
Box score for the 1st quarter of Around the Horn is now available in your local newspaper. Taking a break here. Buy or sell next.
I'll do better in the 4th quarter. That's my quarter. 4.
Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd saying the Kyrie Irving injury, the one you saw right here, the torn ACL, was not because of too many minutes played by Irving since the Luka Doncic trade. Kidd called it a freak accident, and that's how it should be reported. We're reporting on conspiracy theories. We want our stars to play. This isn't supposed to be a rest league. That's how Kidd said it. Would he fair or foul to blame minutes for Kyrie's injury?
Foul. I totally agree with Jason Kidd that he's averaged, Irving has, 36.1 minutes per game. His entire career, he's averaged almost 35 minutes. What's the difference? Since Luka's been gone, he's playing 2 more minutes, but he's not playing 40, 42, 44 minutes. They haven't pressed him into that. It's a mistake.
Harry Lyles Jr.?
Yeah, Tony, completely agree with Jason Kidd. I mean, what about watching this particular play should lead anybody to think that this was a wear and tear injury? He was literally stepping over somebody, and that was the nature of the injury. Like, I know we want to get on the Mavericks about many different things that they have done wrong over the last handful of weeks. This is not one of them.
Tinsley?
Yeah, I'm in 1,000% agreement with Jason Kidd. Let's talk about the fact that his team needed him out there. The Mavs are 7 games above 500 when he plays, and they're 5 games below 500 when he doesn't. You can't use load management and reducing his minutes off a freak injury like Harry said. That's just disingenuous, and it's disrespectful to what Kyrie meant for this team this year.
Well, let's turn to Frank. Frank, you have at least acknowledged that Kyrie was carrying a heavy weight for this franchise and for this team. Do you believe too many minutes led to this injury?
He certainly was, and I do think Jason Kidd's sensitive because before Luka was traded, he was hurt. Anthony Davis is hurt. Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, now Kyrie. If his name was Tom Thibodeau, the minutes police would have arrested him already and he'd be in jail. Let's be fair. But I'll say this. It happened in the 1st quarter, in the first 8 minutes, and they had off the day before. Remember, Gordon Hayward suffered a career-altering injury in the first quarter of the first game. These things happen. As Harry pointed out, he stepped on Valanciunas' foot, landed awkwardly, and there you go.
The minutes police, Isola invokes. You were like the minutes police. You were like the head sergeant of the minutes police. Buy or sell 2, NFL news from Los Angeles. The Chargers releasing Joey Bosa. This was expected. It's a salary cap move. Bosa's still Pro Bowler this season, and he's been a Pro Bowler 5 times in 9 years, though some injuries of late. And now Mama Bosa with the dream. Bosa in San Francisco together? Harry, should Joey Bosa be chasing a ring, a contract, or Mama Bosa's happiness?
Ooh, Tony, chasing a parent's happiness or approval at age 29 would require a longer discussion than we've got in this buy or sell. He needs to chase a ring. I'm just saying, he needs to chase a ring, and I think if he does that, he will kind of get everything that he needs here. Obviously, everybody wants to play for a championship. He hasn't really been healthy since 2021. If he has a prove-it year, plays really well, perhaps I get him the contract that he wants. Maybe he ends up doing that in San Francisco. But
well, that would be my follow-up, Harry. Chase a ring. Is going to San Francisco and the place they're in right now in the league chasing a ring to you?
Not quite. Wouldn't be my
Justin Tinsley around the horn of you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's won over Mama Bosa's approval a long time ago. She's got 2 kids in the league, so he's fine on that. Go chase a ring and go get that contract. If I'm him, I'm calling Detroit or Chicago. Go line up alongside Aiden Hutchinson or Montez Sweat, and one of those 2 teams will get you to where you need to be, especially with the contract.
Detroit is chasing a ring, though? Okay. Frank Isola, we know that. Chicago is chasing a ring? I don't know about that. Frank Isola, to you.
As Woody Page might say, I'll take the Bosa of them. They're friends of ours. They're terrific players. And guess
You're not
what?
getting points for trying to make a joke that he would say it. You just got away with it.
The job is to get the quarterback. And remember, he's going to play. This guy's hurt a lot. He's going to play half his games on grass. I think that's a great move ending up in San Francisco or Santa Clara, depending on your
Woody
job.
Page?
You know what's more important than a contract or a ring? It's your mom.
Thank you, Woody
The
Page.
Watt family didn't get to see the 2 brothers play together. The Kelsey family didn't get to see their brothers play together. I think this is so important to finish his career being with his younger brother, and he could just drive right up the coast with a U-Haul.
That's a 3-generation football family.
Words that are wise.
I don't think we say that enough. You got 2 brothers in the league now. Then you had father playing, and you had grandfather playing. That is an incredible NFL family. Justin Tinsley. And did everybody spy what Frank Isola was doing? He was trying to make a joke about Woody while making the Woody joke and trying to get a dad laugh out of that. That
That was a bad.
Page Lyle showdown next.
Gosh.